Welcome everyone. Once again, we are meeting to offer devotion to the Lord. Welcome everyone who are here, everyone who's watching online. Join with us now as we join in our opening part. Om Vasudevasupam Devam Kamsacharumaridhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadaguru Om Adakshe Valdeve Akshare Brahmavadi Gayatri Jagat Mata Vishwayogi Namaste Om Bhurabhuvat Svaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimani Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Om Bhurabhuvat Svaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimani Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Om Bhurabhuvat Svaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimani Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Om Triambakam Yajamhe Sugandhim Pushtivaradam Urvarukum Svabhadramar Mrityormukshiramamritam Om Prithvi Tvaya Dhrita Devikam Vishnumarita Amchadharevan Devi Pavitram Purushastam Om Shri Prithvi Mata Yo Namaha Namami Om Apavitra Pavitra Sarvashtam Yatokya Ayashvari Kundrikasham Svayam Vedita Sajiyam Asvacham Samargyami Ketindaye Namaha Let the prophet walk us all. Om Amritopastharnamasti Swaha Om Amrita Pidhanmasti Swaha Om Satyam Yasha Shrirmai Shri Shaitam Swaha Asprachanam Samartyami Govindaya Namaha Kushmule Siko Brahma Kushmadye Janardana Kusagre Sankram Devam Pushkaram Karomayam Umina Vadhu Baliraja Danindro Mahabala Ten Tvam Pativadami Raksha Machala Join us now in the purity to your eyes, the house porch. Touch your lips. Om Vangamasya Stunos Om Nasurme Pranostu Eyes Om Aksharo Me Chakshurastu Ears Om Karnyo Me Shrotramastu Arms Om Bahur Me Balmastu Thighs Om Urvo Me Ojoastu Arva Om Arishtani Me Angani Samstanami Sahasantu. Join now in the benediction mantra, the Swasti Vacha. Please join us to the devotion. Om Hari Om Swaste Na Indro Vridhasva Swaste Na Pusha Vishvaveda Swaste Na Starcho Ishtadevi Swaste No Brihaspati Dadhatu Om Paya Pratyagam Paya Usha Vishu Paya Divyan Parikshe Paya Mudha Paya Smati Pradesha Santomyam Om Vishnu Ratmasi Vishnu Shakrishnu Vishnu Surasi Vishnu Dhruasi Vishnamasi Vishnavekava Om Agni Devata Vatu Devata Suryo Devata Chandrama Devata Vasu Devata रुद्र देवता आदित्य देवता मरुतो देवता विश्वदेव देवता बृहस्पति देवता इंद्र देवता वरुण देवता ओम द्यौः शान्ति अंतरिक्षं शान्ति पृथ्वी शान्ति आकाश शान्ति औषधय शान्ति वनस्पति शान्ति विश्वदेव शान्ति ब्रह्मा शान्ति सर्वं शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति सामा शान्तिरेधि ओम विश्वानि देवा सवितरदुर्गाणि परास्व यद्भद्रं तदास्व ओम शुक्लं वरदं देवा शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्ते ओम शान्ति 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 भवन्तु। प्रेम से श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। शरणं प्रभु ओम भूरसी भूमिरसी नीतिरसी विश्वदाय विश्वस्य भुवनस्य धात्री पृथ्वी रक्षा पृथ्वी त्रिभुवना पृथ्वी मही ओम सह। प्रेम से पृथ्वी माता की जय। शरणं प्रभु। The flowers in the hand now we meditate on Bhagavan as Ganesha. Ganesha was Vigneshwar, remover of obstacles, giver of success, store house of wisdom. We ask for Bhagavan, you inspire us from within with wisdom, that we may recognize all of our challenges, and bless us with the ability to be able to overcome them as well. This Ganesha, we join in humble salutations. गजाननं भूतगणाधिसेवितं कपित्थजम्बोफलचारुभक्षणं वासुतं शोकविनाशकारकं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्। ॐ ह्रीं महेशपुत्रं समस्त विघ्नोर्विनाशरक्षं मङ्गलपूजापठनं परालं प्रवाणपूजं भगवन् नमस्ते। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमस्तुते। श्री गणेशाय नमः नमामि श्री गौरी माताभ्यो नमः नमामि। रम्यं सुशोभनं दिव्यं सर्वसौख्यं शुभम् आसनं च मया रत्नं ग्रहाणपरमे।
जय विघ्नेश्वर जय 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 लंबोदर जय 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 गणनायक जय सुखदायक जय गणेश जय जय ईश्वर जय
Our class Barnsley glorify the Lord with meditation. Om Jai Ganapati Sadhana Sadhan Abhivarbhadana Kripa Vimnaharan Mandakaram Jai Jai Girjara Om Dakshana Ganesh Gauri Devi Swastana Parameshwari Aham Puja Karishyami Om Smayasanam Bhava Prem Swasi Gauri Ganesh Bhagwan Ki Jai Sharanam Prabhu. I see Neil is here. Neil's, we really want to encourage him to eventually take over my old band now. You got to look at the young people to start sometime. So I'm going to invite Neil to take my spot here. And I'm going to go sit with the Kirtan members here. I got old legs as well, so I need to find a high spot to sit on. So Neil, you'll take this down and you'll go through with it. Don't get up and let your father come here. You stay here throughout. Yes.
Alright, we're going to start with the lecture invitation. For those of you who are online, I apologize for this little bit of break here, but we need really to encourage young people, and it's alright. Neil's going to switch out when he comes to take over. So you'll be using my mic as well, alright? Okay. This mic is really well set, I gotta be honest, okay?
Don't move. You just want to add to this.
Alright, you can go ahead, don't worry about it.
We got a person of lunch. Om Namaste Astu Mahamaya Sri Kiteshwara Purte Shambha Namaste Mahalakshmi Namaste Om Siddhi Bodhi Prade Devi Bhukti Mukti Pradayani Namaste Sanadevi Mahalakshmi Namaste
Switch off, yeah. I gotta teach you this. Yeah, let's switch off. Go ahead.
We now glorify Lord Lakshmi. Aum Matu Lakshmi Kare Kripa Karo Hriday Mera Manamana Siddhi kari purvahudeya trahi trahi utahani harohe sabkas jayati jayati jay lakshmi kari shatna anash mahalakshmi samastubhyam namastubhyam sareshwari Hari Priye Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Dayariye Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayati Shabdita Namastasye, 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 Namo Namah. Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Makrupena Samstita. Namastasye, 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 Namo Namah. Prem se bolo Mata Lakshmi Charanam Kabir. Our next section brings us to the Navgraha. Navgraha, when we are born, there is a timestamp where the planets are placed that will dictate how our life will unfold. And we pray to them to ask them for better days, more positive influences, reduce the negatives. And for our members of our congregation, we ask that the Navgraha bestow better graces and help to improve their health and fortune for Janaki Samaru, Anjali Rampal, Vaidanai Ramprasad, Mary Manmahal, and Sita Singha. Clasp our hands together. Om Brahma Murari Vishwapurantakari Anushashri Bhumi Saturashya Gurusha Shapajai Rahu Ketu Sarve Graha Shantikaravantu Principal Shri Navgraha Devaki Jai Shalarantu. Our next offerings are to Lord Vishnu. We ask Lord Vishnu to bestow His benevolence upon us, love, compassion, and to always light the way for us. Om Shashanka Chakram Sakirita Kundalam Sapita Vastram Sarsevi Dakshanam Sahara Vaksha Sarvastita Sriyam Namami Vishnu Shri Chaturvujam Om Mugam Karoti Vakshalam Angunam Goyate Viram Yakripadamaham Vande Parmananda Madhavam Om Nilam Bhujashamala Komalangam Sita Samana Vipavamahagam Paramahasaya Krishnachapam Namami Ramam Radivam Shamatam Om Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Nataya Sitaye Pataye Namaha Om Nilavarnam Deepavastram Srivatsa Parabhushitam Govindam Mulanandam Brahmacharya Ramchitam.
जो राम नाम नहीं गाते जो राम नाम नहीं गाते वो जीते जी भर जाते जो राम नाम गाते हैं वो परम धाम पाते हैं बोलो राम सिया राम जय जय राम Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Jo Rama Nama Sai Jate, Wo Sita Sita Jate. Jo Rama Nama Gate Hai, Wo Parama Dhamma Paate Hai Bolo. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Rama Nama Ke Japse, Aur Kashtam Ke Jeevan. Rama Nama Ke Japse, Aur Rohan Rama Nama Ke Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Rama Nama Ye Jagati, Bada Bhera Kala Gaye. Rama Nama Ka Sumiran, Mana Dev Diya Gaye. Rama Nama Ye Jagati, Bada Bhera Kala Gaye. Rama Nama Ka Sumiran, Mana Dev Diya Gaye. Rama Nama Nai Jate, Mau Sagar Paare Jate. Jo Rama Nama Gate, Wo Parama Dhamma Paate Hai Bolo. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Rama Nama Ke Varke, Kuch aur nahi hai sachcha. Kabira nahi bataya, तुझसे मेरी यही बाचा. Rama Nama Se Varke, Kuch aur nahi hai sachcha. Kabira nahi bataya, तुझसे मेरी यही बाचा. Jo Rama Nama Pukarte, Wo Dhanya Dhanya Ho Jate. Jo Rama Nama Gate, Wo Parama Dhamma Paate Hai Bolo. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Jo Rama Nama Nai Jate, Wo Sita Sita Jate. Jo Rama Nama Gate, Wo Parama Dhamma Paate Hai Bolo. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram. Ram Siya Ram, Siya Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Alright, you glorify the God as Krishna Gopal, Deen Dayal, Krishna Gopal, करता तुम ही कारण तुम करता तुम ही कारण परम कृपाल दीन रत्हा के रंग भूमि में और कर्म योग के मरम बसाए अजर अमर है परम तत्व काया की दुख सुख समझाए सप्रसार की शरणागत के सप्रसार की शरणागत के सरकृत पाए दीन दयाल परम कृपाल कृष्ण गोपाल श्याम के रंग में रंग गए मेरा रस खान को रस की खान हुए जग से आगे बंद करी तो सूरदास ने तरस किए मातर सोरा नारी के मातर सोरा नारी के दीन दयाल जय कृष्ण
Krishna Gopal Hari Nanda Hari Krishna Gopal Hari
Om Yam Brahma Vardhan Marutha Srimati Devi Save Devi Sankadhakramopanishade Gayanti Ram Samadha Dhyana Vashishthatadagathena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyam Na Vidusirasura Devaye Tasmai Namaha Aukayena Vacha Manasindriyirva Buddhyat Manava Prakriti Sambhava Karomi Yajnat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yati Samarapyami Praise Guru Vishnu Bhagavan Ki Jai Sharanam Prabhu. Now brings us to our offerings to Lord Shiva, to Adi Yogi, the first yogi, not like stretching yoga, but like yoga, mind, body, soul, to bring union. We offer bodies in him. Om Bashunam Patim Papanasham Parisham Gajendra Sekhatam Vasanam Varenyam Jatajutamadi Spuraragangavarim Mahadevamekam Smarami Smarami Mahesham Suresham Suraratinasham Vibhum Vishwanatham Vibhutyandravusam Virupakshamandagavani Pranetram Sadhanandavide Prabhu Hanshavakram Karisham Ganesham Dhaleelavarnam Gajendradhyudam Gunathitarupam Pabham Basvaram Basvanabhushitangam Bhavani Kalatam Vaje Panchavakram Shivakanta Shambho Shashankarbhamure Maheshana Shulim Jatajutadarim Tvameko Jagadvyapako Vishwarupa Prasidam Prasidam Prabho Purnarupam Namaste Namaste Vibho Vishwamurte Namaste Namaste Chidanandamurte Namaste Namaste Tapiyokahanya Namaste Namaste Sriyamagamya Prabhu Shurapane Vibho Vishwanatha Mahadeva Shambho Maheshwara Shivakanta Shambho Shashankardhanure Tvadanyo Varanyo Namanyo Jaganya Om Namah Shambhavaya Cha Mayodhavaya Cha Namah Shankaraya Cha Mayaskaraya Cha Namah Shivaya Cha शिवधराय च ॐ तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ रम्यं शिशोभरं सर्वदिव्यं शुभम् आसनं च मया दत्तं ततं गृह्णातु परमेश्वरम्। ॐ नमस्ते नीलग्रीवाय च शक्रमेदुषे अथयो अस्य सम्प्रमाणो पाण्ठेभ्योत्तरो नमः। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिवावन्दनम् मृत्युर्मुक्ष्यमामृता। ॐ वयस्स्तम्भन्मासि ॐ वयस्स्तम्भसार्जजनिस्तो ॐ वयसरित्सरन्यासि ॐ वयसरित्सरन्मासि ॐ वयसरित्सरन्मासि। ॐ गोक्षरधामं देवेशे गोक्षरमया कृतं स्नापनं देवदेवेशे देहाना शिवशङ्करम् स्तुतं समर्पयामि भ्यो नमः नमामि शिवाय। ॐ नमः शिवाय। Shirvana Sarvashirvano Manivana Swa Ashvana Shete Shetakshi Naste Rupa Pashupate Karamya Avilata Rudanamo Rupa Parajanya.
Not a plastic bag there. Right there.
Plastic bag open.
Bottle form. Behind the bottle.
I'm looking for a natural costume. Om Shirvala Sarva Shirvala Manivana Swa Ashvana Shirati Shirtakshi Yunasti Rupa Pashupate Karnamaya Abhaktavarokadamo Rupa Karnajanya Namajalam Samarpyami Yo Namaha Namami. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
नमो महादेव शंभो नमो सदाशिवो। जय परमेश्वर जय भुवनेश्वर जय शिव शंकर। नमो महादेव शंभो नमो सदाशिवो। जय परमेश्वर जय भुवनेश्वर जय शिव शंकर। ओम महादेव सदाशिव जय परमेश्वर जय भुवनेश्वर जय शिव शंकर।
Namo
जय पीताम्बर जय शिव हर हर महादेव गौरी मनोहर हर शिव शंकर जय शिव Om Atma Tvam Girjamati Sahachara Prana Shariram Riham Pujate Vishayopahogarachana Netra Samadhi Sthiti Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidhi Strotrani Sarvahiru Yajat Karma Karami Kadadakiram Shambho Kavarahanam Karacharana Kritam Va Karyacham Karmajam Va Sravadayana Jamba Manasam Va Apararam Viditam Va Sarvamitat Shamasva Jai Jai Karunavade Shri Mahadeva Shambho Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Samsara Saram Bhujagendraharam Sadhava Santam Bhavam Bhavani Santam Namami Om Trayambakam Nijamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Purvamukhiva Vandanam Mrityorvakshiyamamrita Principal Sri Shiva Shankar Bhagavan Ki Jai Sharanam Prabhu. Now we are taking Prashad topics and we're going up.
So the first question
Murelian Bajire Chaluna Kete Murelian Bajire Chaluna Thank you.
दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चूर, गरीबों की दुनिया से रहती दूर। अजी एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जब माटी में सब दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चूर, गरीबों की दुनिया से रहती दूर। एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जब माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। माटी ओरल माटी बिछावन, माटी का तन बन जाएगा। माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चूर, आसमान से भी ऊंची तेरी आशा है, पर कभी सोचा नहीं जिंदगी की तेरी सांस है। इसका तू हिसाब कर घूमता उंगलियों पे घर, कितने खटखन भलाई में, कितने तू लगा भलाई का फल रह जाएगा, बाकी माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। माटी ही और माटी बिछावन, माटी का तन बन जाएगा। माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चोर, गरीबों की दुनिया रहती है दूर। एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जब माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। माटी ही और माटी बिछावन, माटी का तन बन जाएगा, माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो ऊंचे हवेली उठते ऊंचे हवेली उठते पल पल जाएंगे पगले बदल, ले तू किसी की दुआओं का फल, ले तू किसी की दुआओं का फल, परदेसी को फल और नीके पहचान। जैसा बोएगा वैसा पाएगा, माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। माटी ही और माटी बिछावन, माटी का तन बन जाएगा, माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चोर, गरीबों की दुनिया से रहती है दूर। अभी एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जब माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। माटी ही और माटी बिछावन, माटी का तन बन जाएगा, माटी में सब मिल जाएगा। दौलत के झूठे नशे में हो चूर,
Don't stress out till you're done with your concert. Don't worry. Let's see anybody else. I'm on the right guy. Yeah, hand up time to do it. Don't move on.
जाने कलियां
Next class in prayers. Next class in prayers. Lokabhiram Radharam Rajivanetram Raghavam Shanatham Karunarupam Karunakaram Tam Sri Ramachandram शरणं प्रपद्ये जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम गौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवामि सहितं नमामि जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम हरे भाग्यमानुष्यतनु पावा सुरदुर्लभ सब ग्रंथन ही गावा साधन धाम मोक्ष द्वारा पाई मुझे कर लोक सवारा जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम सच्चिदानंद रूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्राय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः माता च पार्वती देवी पिता देवो महेश्वरः बान्धवा शिव भक्तश्च सुरेशो गुणात्रयम् कायेन च मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृति स्वभावतः करोमि यज्ञं सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि नारायणायेति समर्पयामि ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम. Like Sejal, on behalf of the Voice of Dharma Temple, I want to extend thanks to all those who are here today. I suppose more people are looking in than people who are sitting in. So, whatever the case is, we want to extend thanks to all those who are listening in and pray that the Lord bestows His grace, His blessings upon us all, so that we can become better at whatever things we do in life. Ultimately, so that we become better personalities, better able to handle our own selves, better able to handle this world around us. Today I want to look at a little bit of course I'm looking at the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm reminded that always this religion, this tradition, actually what we practice here is more than a religion. Really, it's a way of life. It's a way of how to comport yourself. It's a way of how to behave. It's a way of how you're supposed to consume. It's all these things ingrained in one. They tell us, they remind us this body is a miraculous thing. This body, which is what that verse from the Ramayana means, this body is a gift. It is an instrument of our spirituality, and this is its prime purpose. Sadhguru got a famous line which I stole. He says, while it's important, we shouldn't think of becoming superhuman. Rather, we should start to think it's simply super to be human. Well, the guy's so good at English, he can coin these things. But after I heard that thing, I'm reading this verse, but this is what the verse means. It is a gift. This body is a gift. Its ultimate goal is to attain spirituality. It is the vehicle by which we get there. Even the Devatas, who are superhuman beings, are jealous of humankind because we possess this gift. Because at the end of the day, we can advance. They can't. They're stuck in time. Only human beings can advance. We live a certain lifespan and we come back again. So time after time, we have the opportunity to grow. Whereas the Devatas, they live for eons and they can't advance. This is why Indra goes around causing so much mischief. Right? He has to live 28 manvantars, whereas we just live a maximum 120 years. So this religion is a way of life. This body is a miraculous thing. This body, we're supposed to know what to put into it. And this body has its own kind of energy and it has its own kind of consciousness. And I like to think this life we have, even the cellular, even the cells within our being, know when it's time to shut it down. They know when to multiply, they know when to divide and so on. They know how to behave when the body is being invaded. This body as well, whatever we consume, this body has a miracle within it to know what things it needs to put out. Puts out by way of, puts out the waste that has to come out of this body, the sweat that has to come out of this body, things that fall off of this body. We like to think we can keep it here, but sometimes nature is telling us it's probably a good thing your hair is followed, otherwise you'd have been a bad personality. At any rate, this body has its own miracle, and we're supposed to respect this body. So it's the attitude. Hinduism is reminding us we need this attitude, how to treat this instrument. If you got a good drum or a good harmonium, you treat this thing well. The same attitude you should extend towards your own body, right? So this body is quite a gift, and we need to learn to use it the way it was meant to be used. So this tradition, it gives a lot of liberty in the world of thinking, but it enjoins a strict code of practice. Extremely flexible and broad-based it is, and it has a range of system of thinking, rituals, religions, all of these things exist within. Fast festivals, but its insistence at the end of the day is on a spiritual outlook. It reminds us, in all the verses, they always remind us about karma. And it says the performer of good, not the believer in this view or that view, can never end up in an evil state. You know, some traditions they tell you, only if you believe this, you're going somewhere. Right? This sword is spinning at a certain rate. It's spinning around Vishnu's navel. Right? It's going closer and it's receding from it. So it advances and it recedes. So who's to say which way is up and which way is down? We don't know. The sword is spinning. But I think which way is up at one time, which way is down? Down is down or down is up? You don't know. Right? Where's heaven? It's not up. It's not up. Right? Heaven is a state of mind. Heaven, as Narad reminds us, is right in front here. We need to see, we need to acknowledge it, and we need to protect it. Therefore, this tradition, Dharma is the key. Dharma is the tools the attitude and the tools that we need to protect this universe, because forever and ever we're going to come here until we have to leave. So, I also hear a famous thing. You know, some people say, "Oh, I want to go to heaven," or "I'm going to heaven." You can only go to heaven if you're doing good things here. Because if you don't do good things here, you'll go to heaven, you'll do the same silly things you used to do here. So they don't want you in heaven if you're doing silly things here. I can tell you that much. Right? So we need to do good actions that support this universe, actions that support the well-being of all that lives in it. And this is one of Hinduism's essential message. If you can't do good here, forget it, buddy. You're not going to go elsewhere and do good. This is just your habit. You got to learn to do things good from here. This is why we say karma and those things. Dharma is those deeds that support the upliftment of this universe. So before I get into the Bhagavad proper, which is the kata I want to do, we always invoke here by prayer the first verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadasya yaton vayaditaratha charteshu vignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridiya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yat Suryaha Tejo Vari Mrida Yati Vinmayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Satyam Param Dhimahi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It tells us this. We meditate on that transcendent reality from whom this universe has sprung, in whom it abides, and into whom it returns, because he is invariably present in all existing things and is distinct from all non-entities. Who is self-consciousness, who is self-effulgent, who revealed to Brahma by his mere will the Vedas that cause bewilderment even to the greatest sages, in whom this threefold creation, though unreal, appears real, even as the sun's rays are mistaken for water, as in a mirage, as water is mistaken for earth, as earth for water, and whoever excludes Maya by his own self-effulgent glory. That prayer Shantakaram Bhujakshayana means he is calm. He sleeps on the mighty Sheshananta serpent. From his navel there rises a lotus. He is the God of all gods. He is Paramatma. He is the supporter of all universes. He is the infinite sky. He has a beautiful physique, and He's the Lord of Lakshmi. His eyes are like full-grown lotuses. We meditate on Vishnu, who is a remover of all fear in this universe. We meditate on Vishnu, who symbolizes everything that is at ease. Vishnu is the at ease symbol. If we hearken to Vishnu, disease will leave us. So the opposite of at ease is dis-ease. Sri Paramahamsa Ramakrishna quoted this verse when he said, what's in the Srimad Bhagavad? And this comes from chapter 10, Shloka 9. It says, Tava Katha Amritam Tapta Jivanantavi Videditam Kalmashapaham Sravana Mangalam Srimad Ratatam Bhuvi Grananti Te Bhurada Jana. And it's speaking about Lord Krishna. It says to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, it says the nectar of your story, the praise of poets' seers, elixir to part souls, delight of listening ears, the cleanser out of sin. It is grand, it is glorious. They who spread it wide and north are generous. So again, the nectar of your story, the praise of the poet's seers. And what he's talking about here, perhaps the greatest poet seer in this episode here is Shukdev. He's elaborating on the story, telling it to Raja Parikshit. It is an elixir to parched souls. It is delight of listening to ears who wants to hear it. It cleanses out our sin. The story of the Bhagavad is grand and it's glorious. They who spread it wide on earth are generous. A long time ago, back again, and we always used to do 7-day Bhagavad and thing. But all those old souls who were presiding on this thing and those souls who were listening to it, it says those who spread this knowledge, they are to be considered to be generous. So I'd like to think that just the mere fact that we're telling these things in temple perhaps puts us in that vein. So as I'm looking at the Bhagavad, remember this Bhagavad is being told for the benefit of Raja Parikshit. He has a couple of days left to live. I think by the time the story starts, like nobody's counting, but the deprecation uttered by the young sage Samek is that 7 days from now, it's actually Samek's son, is that 7 days from now, the snake Takshak will bite you. And once Takshak bites you, of course that means the end. So what is being described here is a kind of a terminal condition. You got 7 days to live. When you're sitting down in hospital and they tell you got 7 days to live, your condition is terminal, right? 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, it's terminal. Now this condition, if we're thinking long and hard, applies to all of us, really. We're all in a terminal state. We know we gotta go, right? And then no matter how much you kick and scream, we're going, right? Some of us, we get messages in life that kind of reminds you that this thing will happen. Sometimes you walk in the woods, you fall down, you hit yourself, Like my buddy Sato was sitting there, you almost fall down, you say fall down, you hit your back and then you can hurt yourself. So all these things happen to us, and they're reminders that we can be injured. This is why this body, you gotta treat it well, right? You have to be careful how you sit. This is why they have a whole stream called yoga. It teaches you how to sit. Right? It teaches you how to sit in such a way that you can sit in a position that you lock yourself that you can't fall over. So that you can fall asleep, you're not keeling over. So it has all these techniques in it. So, all of that said, this Bhagavad is being told for the benefit of Raja Parikshit. He has a few days left to live. And earlier in the Bhagavad, he's asking, what things do I need to do if I know I have a short time to live? And so Shukdev is reciting the whole story of Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Bhagavan Vishnu. He's recanting the story from an earlier time of original creation. So if you want to find certain things that you find absent in the Ramayana, because it can't possibly be in the Ramayana. The Ramayana is Bhagavan Sri Ram's life, birth, life, and all the kind of trials and tribulation he goes through. It is in the Bhagavad and some of the other Puranas that we're able to find other things that help us to understand the whole field of Hinduism. Other traditions like Buddhism, they don't have to do this because they rely on the Hindu tradition for all the deities and so on. Buddhism, Jainism, they're in fact sitting on top of Hinduism. Right? They sit on a pillar created out of Hinduism. Right? So even Buddhist people, they worship the same kind of deities with different names, right? Same thing with the Jains. They all come out of this same tradition. So this is a broad-based tradition and it has a lot of stories that tell us about the creation of this world, and it tells us many other things. The topic I want to talk about now, as Shukdev is speaking to Raja Parikshit, one of the questions he asks is about how yogis are able to do what they do, how they're able to discern, how they're able to behave, how they gain liberation. So this topic he's talking about here is called the attainment of freedom. And I'll probably go and look at a couple of Gita verses as well. And I'll read it ad lib. It is called, in this chapter, it's called the attainment of freedom. It says, a true yogi, realizing the approach of death, sits calmly in yoga posture, and with his heart purified and mind under perfect control, becomes absorbed in the consciousness of Brahman. Now, in all the scriptures, we don't find a lot of discussions about yoga, about all the chakras and things. But in this book, we find that Shukdev, because he's an expert on this topic, he speaks to Raja Parikshit about all these 7 chakras and so on. And he's telling him how we advance through this. So just a brief into yoga. Yeah, well, young Pandit was talking, it's not stretchy yoga, right? You hear yoga, all we see is people stretchy, right? So there's a lot more to it. In fact, it does include a little bit of stretchy. But when we're talking about yoga, we're talking about 5 disciplines. We're talking about asanas, pranayamas, mudras, bandhas, and meditation. All these things go together in yoga, and all of these things are techniques to help us to get to certain places. So the stretchiness is to help us to be able to sit up with the back comfortably right? No matter what you do, if you don't have to sit in a lotus posture and so on, you can even sit in a chair and practice yoga. but your back must be erect. It is only when your back is erect, comfortably erect, that the organs are at rest. Now when you're lying down, when you're comfortably erect, the back is, all the organs are at rest. Then when you start to breathe, you can focus on all the different centers in your body. Right? One of the guided meditations is teach you in yoga, focus on your ankle, focus on your feet. So you're feeling all the different aspects of yourself, right? I see one of my sisters sitting there in Chin Mudra. So all of these things are there within the thing, right? So when we get into mudras are certain gestures. This one mudra here, it got two applications. It can be like this, it's called Gyan Mudra. When it's like this, it's called Chin Mudra. Right? The same thing. Now, when they're using a Rudrakshanyu, if your hand is like this, the direction is a spin. If your finger is like this, it can spin. What it's telling you, you're completing certain pranayama channels in your body. So it's not a joking thing, right? It's a very elaborate system. Some of the mudras are like this. This is why when they do Hawan, they do things like this, right? Mudras, they got some mudras like this, some like this. This, in fact, is called the heart mudra, right? So they all got different names, and they got different applications. So yoga is a very elaborate system. So you have to know asanas. There are so many asanas, but only certain ones are conducive for performing yoga. There are certain pranayamas that one have to engage in. The pranayama is the breathing. We have to learn to breathe deep. We have to learn how to channel the breath from the depths of our being to the very height of our being. And just like when you play music and you call it Arohan and Avrohan, one breathing is ascending breathing, the next breathing is descending breathing. So this is part of the pranayama technique. Part of it is to focus on certain parts of the body. Focus on your third eye. And if you're able to do some of this and you can feel certain rhythms and you can see certain things, you've attained to Lord Shiva, right? Lord Shiva sits up here. Bhagwan Shiva, I should say. Bhagwan Shivaji sits up here. He's the deity that presides over the third eye. So Shukadeva is continuing. So he says time, the greatest tribe, which lords it over everything in this universe, is annihilated. This is when the yogi has found his eye. The universe itself melts into nothingness. The yogi is no longer aware of his physical self. The worshipful Bhagwan Vishnu alone is in his heart. All to him is Bhagwan Vishnu. Such is his blissful state. Desiring to give up the body. So here again, Shukadeva is explaining this to Raja Parikshit. And if it looks, so he's teaching him actually how we need to quit this body as well. Desiring to give up the body, he allows the vital energy to pass through the different centers of consciousness. First, the energy is concentrated in the solar plexus, called the Manipura. From there, the energy rises to the Anahat, the heart. Actually, the book made a mistake here. It's not the solar plexus, it's the navel. So you see, sometimes if you know what you're talking about, you can correct translations. Right? So, Anahat is the heart. It then passes to the center near the throat, which is called the Vishuddha. From there, it ascends to the Ajna, the center between the eyebrows. And all the yogis that come out of the Bihar mission, which is the Swami Shivananda mission, this is the foremost thing they're teaching, how to bring your breath to your eyebrows. It ascends to the Ajna, the center between the eyebrows. At this point, one of two things may come to pass. If the yogi has reached a state of desirelessness, he realizes the absolute Brahman, and the vital energy ascends to the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petal lotus center in the brain, called the doorway to Brahman. Then the yogi, realizing his unity with Brahman, completes the separation of himself from the senses, the sense organs, the mind, and the body, and passes away. He attains to what is called absolute freedom. This is what is called immediate liberation. So in this tradition, there is no salvation. There is only liberation. And this is one of the techniques to get to liberation. So if you lie down on your bed now, oh God, oh God, oh God, meditate on how to reach the high place. Right? So put your energy into something that can take you someplace. If having raised his vital energy to the center between the eyebrows, the yogi, on the other hand, still has some desires left in him, he does not realize the absolute unity, but passes away still associating himself with the mind and the senses. He then ascends to the higher and higher lokas and ultimately reaches Brahmloka. There he becomes free from all desires and realizes his unity with Brahma. And thus, having attained absolute freedom, there is for him no more return. This is called gradual liberation. So one, you go there fast, another one, you go there slow once you reach the yogic state. So this is what Shukdev is talking about. So he's telling that, so as he gives this discussion, and bear in mind, I'm giving here a summarized discourse. He tells Rajan Parikshit, Rajan, therefore, O king, be a yogi. For by worshipping Bhagavan Vasudeva, Bhagavan Vishnu, one has all desires fulfilled, and the end attains freedom. And in the end attains freedom. Even hearing Bhagavan Vishnu's name stimulates the higher consciousness and brings about detachment from the fleeting world. So should a man follow the path of freedom. So should a man follow the path of freedom, the path of love. Blessed indeed is his life on earth who devotes himself to the worship of Bhagavan Vishnu, the Paramatman. So I'll conclude there today. I think what I wanted to really do, which I think I've done, is to talk a little bit about yoga. I think we touched on some of the centers, but a forum like this is often not enough because we went to yoga school and we learned some things. And still, as I'm reading other books, I'm realizing I still don't know. Right? So this entire discipline, this entire Hindu religion, yoga, all these things, it's a field of experience. It's not a field of belief. You've got to experience it yourself. Right? We say in this tradition, the Guru can tell you going to do it. He can show you the way to do it, but he can't do it for you. Right? All other tradition, you don't do it for yourself. I'm doing it for you. Right? So this is at the heart of this tradition, at the heart of the Guru concept. The Guru can show you the way. Ultimately, you got to do this thing for yourself. If you don't do this thing for yourself, then you don't do it at your own prayer, right? So this is why all of us are seekers. Right? This is what it means when they say we're all of us seekers, right? We can believe in this God and that deity and all the other deities and believe in all of them. There's nothing wrong with this. This is good. But ultimately we must be continually seeking. And this whole discipline that we're talking about here, every time you come to practice it, it's different because it's an experiential thing. You got to experience it. Nobody can tell you it tastes like sugar. Nobody can tell you it tastes like salt. You got to taste it yourself, and you got to learn. I close with one verse in the Bhagavad Gita here. I think I keep saying I'm closing, I'm not really closing. This is one of the bad habits I developed. So, Bhagavan Krishna is also speaking to Arjuna, and he's telling him certain things. But the Gita is not an instruction book on this kind of yoga, right? But it gives a few pointers there. And all I'll do is to read a little bit, read this one verse, which, whenever you find yourself angry, you must learn to find ways to not become angry. Right? This is probably, in anger you commit some silly things, right? In anger you can say so many silly things. It's when you stand back later and you look at yourself, you tell yourself, what the heck was I thinking of back then? And it says this. If you can conquer your anger, you actually have just become a human. This verse tells us this. He who is able to resist the impulse of desire and anger, even here before he quits his body, he's a yogi, he's a happy man. Again, he who is able to resist the impulse of desire and anger, even here before he quits his body, he's become a yogi. He's become a happy man. Right? And this last verse that I'll really close with. He whose happiness is within, whose delight is within, whose illumination is within, only that yogi becomes Brahma and gains the beatitude of Brahma. So, always, this religion is teaching you how to become a master of yourself. This is what this verse is saying here. He whose happiness is within, whose delight is within, whose illumination is within, that yogi, right? Once you're happy with yourself, you become a yogi, right? And I close with this. I close with this one for sure. Sadhguru says this, and I stole it from him. If you're by yourself and you're miserable, you're a bad company. You gotta learn to find, right? Oh, nobody out there will give you happiness. It comes from inside. Right? It comes from bringing the proper emotion to joy. This verse really is saying that. If you're by yourself, you mustn't be miserable. Something is wrong if you're by yourself and you're miserable. That's when you're at your best. How can you not be at your best when you're by yourself? Principle of Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jai. We don't know for sure. Thanks for allowing me such privileges to quit many times.
Well, thank you, Bhagat, and thank you, Neil. And we like you to come more often and keep with it. You're doing okay. So we want to compliment you on your progress since I last saw you, of course. And one thing the biggest problem is sitting there. And get over the fear that you feel within, right? Because talking to people is not an easy thing, we all know this. But each of us have to go through it until we get to where we are. So you will have the same problem like everybody else. But you're not unique in any way. So we all go through this. So that's why I told her not to get up and let her take over the seat. When you're in gas, you sit there. Alright? He's contributing in a different way, so he'll be here. So we want to keep that and let me know again when you are going to be here so you can arrange it. And as often as you can, please come and join with us. Alright, I want to thank all of you for turning out today who are here, and for those of you who are online with us as well. I hope today's instructions and today's katha was a bit of enlightenment for all of us. Yoga, of course, is something that is basically from the Hindu tradition. We all need to find out about it and to practice it as best we can. But to get there, of course, you got to start with being good first. And good with yourself, good with others as well. This is a part of yoga as well. So, not only the exercises are good. They keep you nimble and healthy. Without a healthy mind, you can't, a healthy body, you can't have a healthy mind as well. The yoga works in the mind and within. So if we can work with that, we'll be both externally healthy, internally healthy as well. So that's good, Madhu. Very well said. We want to remind you, of course, that we are here every Sunday. And next Sunday we'll pick up from where we left Sri Ram in his path towards exile, first of all. That was supposed to be this week, but this week Pradipal said he was going to be here, so I said, well, take the opportunity. We need to train Neil as well and make sure that he is ready when we're ready to leave the door. And I mean that literally. None of us are going to be here forever, and we need to plan ahead. So this plan has been in motion for a while. You know, I myself have instructed at least 5 or 6 pundits who came for the beginning, they learned and they took off on their own. It's hard to keep people in the groove, so to speak, and keep them with you. I think you all understand that. But we're hoping Neil will be a different kettle of fish and will stick around with us. We are looking for someone else to help Neil eventually too. Because me and Pandit are not, we got what? 1 foot in the grave already, one sitting on a banana skin outside. We're gonna slide in anytime. So we need to plan ahead and make sure the voice of Dharma. Actually, this is a good thing we have here, okay? Don't knock it. It's not like it's a pretty good temple, but it's not the looks of the temple that is important. It's what goes on within. Like you and I, we might be flat, we might be not pretty looking, but it's what is inside that counts, not what's outside. All of us can't meet Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Eh? yeah, exactly true. So we need to work on ourselves internally because the event, ultimately, that is what defines us. It's not the person who looks good that we remember. It's the one who does good that we remember. If you remember that, we're going to do well for ourselves. So we want to thank all of you for being here, and we want to thank Milos again as well. And we want to invite anybody who's interested to join with us and help this movement going along as we turn the corner and out of COVID and go now into the world once again. As you know, all restrictions have been dropped, so we're back to normal. And in the next couple of weeks' time, we'll probably see how things work out. We have an event coming up on the Father's Day, of course, which is on the 19th. So we want to remind everybody, the fathers especially, please show up and let's celebrate Father's Day. We celebrated Mother's Day, but we were still in limited lockdown at the time. So that didn't go as well as we had hoped, but it went well. We were able to pick 3 women who are all deserving, of course. Every mother is deserving, but still. By the luck of the draw, we had 3. And we'll try to see if we can get that. This time, not 3 fathers. 1 is enough. After all, that's not to have 3 wives, right? So 3 mothers was appropriate. But it's 1 that's not only. Not 10. So one father will be selected by the luck of the draw again. And hopefully we'll get one who's popular amongst everybody. We don't know that, but it could be. Alright, so we want to remind you, of course, that you are, to get your affairs in order, you need to educate yourself. And with this in mind, the Lotus Funeral Information Center is holding a little seminar. It's called Are Your Affairs in Order? Pre-planning seminar plus complimentary dinner. So it's a free dinner, but you've got to register before you come so that people can prepare for you. If you don't register and show up there, I guess no dinner.
What's the address?
It's hold on, I'll put it in there. 1173 Brimley Road, Scarborough. Alright. So this will be on the 16th, and registration is at 6:15, dinner and presentations at 6:30, and then the following that will be the stuff that we need to know. Now, it doesn't mean you have any commitment to pre-planning your stuff, okay? But you listen, you learn stuff that you want, and make your own arrangements. This is all up to each person. Nobody is planning for you. We all know we will go, so we have to compliment these people who are thinking of this, spread the word around that these things are going to happen eventually. And if we are prepared from the day we are born, we know this day is coming. So it's not like we don't know it's coming. And you know, I gotta be honest. When it does happen, everybody's in shock. Why? We knew this day was coming. We knew it was coming. There should be no shock when people die, okay? But still we are. We're surprised that they go, oh, this was so young, it was this, it was that. So beautiful, beautiful or ugly, you're still going. Old or young, you're still going. So, if you plan ahead, you can make things happen the way you want. You don't plan ahead, your kids are going to be left in the stress and they don't know what to do and they're going to be taken advantage of. Believe me, I've seen it so many times. This is why it's important that you do it on your own and hand them the paper and say, or give them a copy of it. This is what it is. This is what I want. When the time comes. Not before. It's not going to happen before either. Which reminds me, a lot of us are afraid to become organ donors as well. You know why? We think that if we give away part of ourselves when we are alive, or when we die, when we come back next, when we come back next time, we will not have that part with us. It's not so, okay? I know this for a fact because I had my friend Paulie, they told him that he had to take his foot out because he was diabetic and he had an infection because the gangrene was building. He said, no, I don't want my foot taken out. When I come back next time, I'll be footless. You know, you gotta tell a few jokes in life, you know, otherwise it doesn't work right. But this is what it is. Education comes through funny things, you know that, right? The more funny they are, the more you learn at it. Because we tend to remember the funny parts. This is why. So keep that in mind. And of course, Father's Day, like I said, is on June the 19th. So please, I'd like to see as many of you as possible. And hopefully we can have a good service. Last week I announced and but you didn't give me my book, my paper, did you? No? Alright, the same announcement. So next week will be or this coming Monday, I think, is the full moon. Gayatri Jayanti is the 9th and so on. The 10th or something is the full. Anyway, look at your calendar. This is why we have the calendar. If you don't look at the calendar, look, we have the calendar posted on the website as well. You can find it there and you can educate yourself. So if you don't announce things that are important to you, they are happening. Just check your calendar regularly. That's why you buy them. That's why. The 14th is full moon. Okay, the 14th is full moon. The 13th. 13th or 14th. Check your paperwork. Look for this Satyanarayan Katha, okay? Look for this Satyanarayan Katha because if the full moon happens later on and after 12 o'clock, it will be listed the following day. But the day is observed the day before. Otherwise, by then it's done. We gotta teach all of you how to use this calendar properly. Yeah, let me have a look at that. So what you need is calendar 101. Calendar 101. So let's see. Satyanarayan Vrat is the 13th. So we observe a full moon on the 13th because it happens on the night. As you know, our time is sunrise to sunrise. Okay. So the day is from sunrise and finish sunrise the next day, and the next day begin at sunrise to the next sunrise. So when the dates occur after midnight, it will be listed the day after. So you'll see full moon says Purnima the 16th, the 14th, and that's because it's 7:51 a.m. on the 14th. Alright? Which means you gotta observe it the night before. No. We put the Satyanarayan Vrat in red so that you can know that. Okay? So if you're listening to me online, just remember that. Look at the calendar, check when the Satyanarayan Vrat is, and that's the day's full moon observed. Even though it may happen the next day after that. Alright, so please understand. The world is round, it's going around continuously, it's spinning. Not all the times are the same everywhere in the world. This is Canadian time, Toronto time that we're talking about, not somewhere else. It might be somewhere else, even in Canada, it could be somewhere else at a different time, because the times are different. If you're in the south, if you're in the west, it's 3 hours later. If you're in the east, it's 1 hour, half hour before. So there's a whole range of timing in the same area. And that's what Canada. So let me make this brief, alright? So the full moon is observed on the 13th, and the Gayatri Jayanti is on the 10th, Ganga Dashmi on the 9th. So all that, if you're observing, if you want to go to the seashore and so on, the lake shore, that's the 9th. So you can do that. Alright, I think we gotta close up here. Times are running, it's 12 o'clock already. Once again, I've gone into overtime and I'm not paying anybody for the overtime, okay? Let's close and start with our closing prayers.
भागवत भगवान की है आरती
Om Shantaram Bhujagashayam Pavanam Suresham Vishwayaram Murgasarvesham Metavarnam Subhayam Lakshmivantam Amaranayam Yogi Vidyanayam Vande Vishnu Bhavayam Om Tvameva Mata Shakta Tvameva Tvameva Shasya Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Ahilam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Tvameva Deva Apoham Papa Paramaham Papa Atma Papa Sambhava Trayimam Nanikacham Sarva Paho Narohari Mantrinam Kriyadinam Bhaktinam Janayatam Yaturitam Nayadeva Paripurnam Thilasune Parvar Varamangaru Arshideva Sriram Harasarojam Ayani Vanti Sada Satasanga Sriram Ramachandra Ki Jai Sharam Prabhu Umapati Mahadeva Ki Jai Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai Siya Ramachandra Ki Jai Sharam Prabhu. We all bow together. Om
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः आवाहनं न जानामि ज्ञानामि विसर्जनं ज्ञानं सेवा न जानामि क्षमस्व परमेश्वर ॐ द्याव शान्ति अन्तरिक्षं शान्ति पृथिवी शान्ति रापा शान्ति वृषभेव शान्ति वनस्पत्य शान्ति विश्वदेव शान्ति ब्रह्मा शान्ति सर्वेन्द्रं शान्ति शान्ति